It's time to sit down and relax for the good, the bad, and the sequel Q&A with your host, Doug.
Hey there, Doug here. Today's Monday, so I hope you have a great week. I know this is usually the time when we usually have a bonus episode, but this one actually has to do with the movie that we're covering this week, Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. And we actually interviewed the Wachati Chief, Damon Standifor. Damon's such a cool guy. We talked about how he got started in acting, some of the other shows that he appeared on. He was on Martin, Becker, Scorpion, and so many others. But yeah, so he was a really cool guy. He provided a lot of behind the scenes stories about Jim Carrey and the whole filming of that movie. He really loved that experience. So yeah, so this is the interview. In the beginning, it gets cut off a little bit, so I'll give you a little heads up. I asked him, hey, when did you know you wanted to become an actor? And he told a story about he dressed up as Mr. T for a talent show. So enjoy Damon Standifor.
And the guy and the crowd went nuts, and I was loving it. And I was like, man, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, so dressing up as Mr. T, that's so great.
Yeah. So so I got into the drama department, and then when I went to Cal State Northridge, I majored in theater, and they had an open audition for a film called Sing back then, and I went and nearly got cast. But the casting director liked me. She introduced me to my first agent, and I from then on, I've been acting. I got my SAG card in '89, and from then on, I've been doing it.
Yeah, was there a particular movie or an actor that, at a young age, that you watch and you're like, you know what, I could see myself doing this?
I don't know if I mean, at the time, I was a big Eddie Murphy fan.
Oh, okay.
A couple of years earlier, and before that, Richard Pryor. I guess because at that time, Eddie Murphy was knocking it out on Saturday Night Live, and so everybody at school thought they were Gumby or that they were Velvet Jones or Buckwheat, whatever character he was playing at the time. We were all doing our Eddie Murphy impressions. So, I mean, as far as idolizing anyone, I guess at that time he was it.
Yeah, and then so IMDb is never right from everyone I talk to. Whenever I mention the first credit that they have, it's never right. So on here it has in '89 you were on Amen.
Yeah, that was my first speaking role. That got me my SAG. It got me my SAG card.
Nice.
I played gang leader.
Gang leader.
Yes. And that was that particular casting director, Eileen Knight. She had cast me in a commercial, a McDonald's commercial, and for that particular episode, I guess the cast were confronting gang members, and they had some authentic gang members as extras, but they needed someone to come in and play the gang leader, and so I got the call, and I had my Cal State Northridge sweatshirt on, and because I was an intellectual gangster. And I turned my sweatshirt inside out, and that became my character. And so me and Clifton Davis were going back and forth for a little bit, and that was my first gig. That's what got me my SAG card.
That's great. And then what would you say? So you had 95, obviously, Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, but just before that, you were on Martin.
Yeah, that was that was the one where they were going to play. Martin was going to fight all these different fighters, and it turned out that they could only get Tommy Hearns. Uh,
Oh, wow.
so the beginning of the episode, I play a rival DJ, and we were supposed to spar. It was like for a charity event, and it was just supposed to be a goof. But Martin took it seriously, and so little old Martin knocks big old me out, and and I scream, "You don't get it! You just don't get it!" And that whole shoot, I worked on that episode for a week, and I was sick as a dog, man. I had some kind of upper respiratory infection, and I probably had a slight fever, and so it probably helped me look like really crappy after I got knocked down by Martin, and so I didn't really have much interaction with him, because when I wasn't on the set, I was in my room and I was just downing lots of coffee and tea.
Yeah, trying to stay hydrated.
Yeah. And so I had it was a decent experience. Back then he was known for being difficult on the set. So fortunately I didn't have to experience that.
Yeah.
And the rest of the cast were really, really nice people. They're real cool.
Yeah. And then the next year, how did Wachati Chief come about in Ace Ventura?
I have no idea. and this is the only time it's happened to me. I don't remember auditioning for it.
Really?
Yeah. The guy, God, I can't remember the original director's name. It wasn't Tom Shadyac, and the original director was replaced by Steve Odekirk.
Oh, okay.
But I can't remember his name. But basically, it wasn't really so much as an audition. It was more like a meeting, and so we basically talked, and I left, and I was like, oh, that was interesting, because usually the way it goes, you get sides, and they'd see if you can act, and I don't know, I guess he had seen me in something, I don't know. And the next thing I know, maybe a week or two later, I get a call that I've been cast as the Wachati Chief, and then I'm going to Warner Brothers and getting getting sized for my diaper.
Yeah.
And my burlap loincloth, and it was I was pretty excited, because this was the biggest thing I'd ever done, and that was pretty much it. We shot in we went out. We had about a week or two before we started shooting. We had a little rehearsal, and then from there on, it was out to San Antonio, ready to shoot.
And you were a fan of the first one, or Jim Carrey's work?
Well, I enjoyed Jim Carrey on In Living Color. That's where I knew him from originally. It was. Are you aware of In Living Color?
Oh yeah. It was funny. I talked to Menard this morning.
Maynard, yeah.
Maynard, yeah. So I chatted with him this morning, and I said, "Did you know Jim Carrey like before that? Were you a fan of the first one?" He's like, "I never saw it, so they sent it out to me, and I was able to watch it." But he's like, "I just knew him from In Living Color," and I was like, "Wow, you had the same experience. That's what you knew him from."
Yeah, and it basically, hey, you're gonna be working with Jim Carrey, and it was always Jim Carrey followed by the white guy from In Living Color. That was his full name. Jim Carrey, the white guy from In Living Color.
Yeah, Fire Marshal Bill. Yeah.
The interesting thing is, and I didn't know it at the time, but he was in a Clint Eastwood movie, a Dirty Harry movie.
Really?
And he was playing a rock star, and he basically lip synced "Welcome to the Jungle," in that it was called the Deadpool, and Yeah, that was probably the first time I ever saw Jim Carrey. But I didn't know who he was at the time. But I think that was the first time I saw him. And then in Living Color, you know, he was a breakout star from that. And you know, I knew I think I maybe I rented it after I found out I got cast, and so I watched it, and yeah, so it was so that was my first experience with Jim Carrey, was in Living Color, really.
Yeah. And how is that like filming that big scene with him when the loogie?
Yeah, that was yeah, I was actually gonna fake it. I was gonna make the sound without, you know, because nobody told me what to do. We were in that hut, and Jim tells Maynard and me to spit on him for real. and I'm like, are you sure? He said, yeah, go ahead. And I said, okay. And so that, and the ironic thing was, I think like right before I had got cast, I had a little cold. So I had been harking shit like for for about a week, but that particular day my throat was dry, and I don't know how many takes we took, but it was a huge effort just to get a glob of spit out of me. I don't know why my mouth was so dry, but it was, and so yeah, we let them have it, and. And then when we left the hut, they covered our faces with KY jelly, and to give the appearance of loogie of loogies coming down our faces. Funny thing, when after I did after I did Ace Ventura, I was over at my friend's house, and and it was like some sort of party or something with a bunch of little kids there, and you know, the little kids were asking me, you know, how did you really spit on Jim Carrey? Did you really spit on Jim Carrey? I was like, yeah. I said, what, did he spit on you too? I said, no, they put KY jelly on my face, and then I realized, oh, these are 10-year-olds. Maybe I should have said that. Yeah. And like my buddy's cousin heard me, and she turned around and gave me this look. And I said, no, I was telling them what they put on my face when I got spit on. And she's like, okay. I was like, man, I thought I was about to I was like, man, I shouldn't have said that to kids, but they didn't know what it was.
The parents come over, usher the kids out of the room, like cover their ears.
Well, I never. Oh man.
So how'd you, after the movie came out and you saw it, how'd you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I loved it, man. It's you know, that was really, I think that was the only time I've been on the big screen, and some of the stuff, man, it was at the time it made me laugh. And you know, and it's great when you hear an audience, you know, reacting in such a favorable way to something that you're doing on screen.
Did you go to the movies and like sit in the audience and like wait for that part, and then?
I went to let's see, I did go to the premiere, and then I did go a couple of times to the movies. And no one recognized me. I was walking around with my shirt off. No one recognized me. But you know, but you know, over the years, you know, people, especially like the first couple of years after the film came out, people would walk up to me and say, "Bumblebee tuna," and after a while, I was like, yeah, bumblebee tuna, I get it. Yeah, it's a very tasty treat. Okay, yeah, I'm the Wachati Chief. But it was, you know, it was kind of cool. And you know, the thing that surprised me was when people would ask me for my autograph, because I'd be like, me, you know?
Yeah.
Why would you want my autograph? But yeah, that was that was cool. That was really fun.
It's a great movie. Like the other, Jim Carrey's made so many hilarious movies, and I'm sure you've seen a bunch of them. But that movie, it just seemed like he like turned it up a notch. Like in some of those scenes, the rhino and the interactions like with the tribe and Tommy Davidson, there's just a lot of like over the top, like even for his movies that he, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I love that movie. I like that better than the first one.
Yeah. Well, after seeing both of them, I'm a little prejudiced. So
Yeah.
I preferred the second one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was. He would improvise stuff. Like there's a scene where he puts zucchinis on his fingers.
Yeah.
And that was improvised. And so the food there was laid out as props. And as soon as Carrey starts playing with the zucchinis, and this was a night shoot, he plays with the zucchinis, and suddenly we're out of zucchinis. And so in order to make the shot match, they have to find zucchinis. And we're on a ranch near San Antonio, and where it's very difficult to find a place, a market that's open, 10 hours, much less 24.
Yeah.
And so, after the first couple of shots, and they didn't have any more zucchinis, they had to call around and find someone who owned a market. And the guy got up, and this was maybe about 2 or 3 in the morning. And the guy got up and went and opened his store, and they bought a bunch of zucchinis from him.
Oh wow!
To use as that prop.
Well, good for him for stepping up and helping out.
Yeah. I don't know what they would have done because back then, there were no. I mean, if people had cell phones, they weren't as common as they are today.
Oh yeah.
So if he had just decided, I'm not picking up the phone, then they would have been screwed. I mean, it wasn't like out here you can find a grocery store any time of the day.
Yeah.
But that was and he did some other things that he did a scene that one of the things they cut. He was molested by the gorilla, and it was cut. But he would try to get out his lines, and then he'd just start crying. And it's like, I'm still the same. I'm still the same. I'm still the same. And that was one of the times I almost lost it, just because it was just. It was so ridiculous, and I'm in the background and I'm trying to suppress a laugh because it was nuts. Another time, and this wasn't Carrey, but we were doing a scene around a fire, and that also got cut. This parrot jumps into the fire.
Whoa!
And yeah, and their wings are clipped, so he can't really fly. And the way I tell the story to my friends is like he yelled, "Live free or die!" And he jumped into the fire. And a couple of the extras, man, I got to give it to them, man. They reached in there and grabbed the bird, and saved his life.
Whoa!
Yeah, and. So that was it was a fun shoot, man.
Yeah, those are some great stories. So I don't know if you knew this or not. They came out with a sequel that doesn't have anything. Jim Carrey obviously wasn't in it in 2009 about his son. Yeah. So I interviewed the main actor for that, and he was a super nice guy, and he did really good in the role. But I was chatting with Menard this morning, and it's, if you think about it, the end of When Nature Calls, it seems like he's already going to have a kid.
I see that would have been good. That would have been good to have.
That was such a great ending to the movie too. He's just running and just getting chased.
Yeah. Now that was a surprise to me because I wasn't there for that shot. So I was there for they find out she's not a virgin, and in my mind that was the end of the film.
Oh, okay.
And so and so when that scene happens, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, no, that's such great stories. So that was, your career's still going over the last, since then it's 24 years. Over those years, you've been in a lot of different shows. Is there a particular show that you had like a great time on? Because you were on like Shameless, you were on Becker for a bunch of episodes. Is there any that you like enjoyed the most?
I enjoyed Becker a great deal. It was Ted Danson and Blair Underwood are probably the nicest people I've ever worked with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so it was a real pleasure working on Becker. I didn't expect to do more than one episode, and they called me back 4 more times. So that was a real pleasure.
Yeah.
And Alex Acer, who played he was the blind newspaper guy. He's like a real great guy, and we had a lot of fun together. The guy who played Bob. I'm blanking. Severio Guerra, real talented guy. It was a real fun watching him work, and it was a real positive set. I really enjoyed working with those people. That's one of those things where if I could go back in time and do something again, I would probably love to do that show again.
Yeah, and you did such a great job. So obviously when they were writing the future episodes, they're like, hey, you know what? Let's get Damon back in here. So
it worked out real well for me. And The Shield. Was it The Shield? The Shield.
With Michael Chiklis, yeah.
Yeah. I had a scene where I turn a baby in that had been left at my gas station. And that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And recently I did an episode of Scorpion. I just had one line, but I happened to be in the bathroom when they chased a suspect in there, and they asked me a question, and I said, "Hey man, I'm just trying to pee. Now I can't." and it was a nice little line. I like the idea. I like it when I can get a chance to actually be funny, but a lot of times I'm just a straight man.
Yeah. Is there anything you have coming up?
Not right now. I'm just like many actors, you just trying to find work. It's been the last thing I did. Oh God, it's the TV sequel to Bad Boys.
Is that Ellie's Finest?
Yeah. I did a scene with Ernie Hudson.
Oh, that's great. Look at that cast. Jessica Alba, Gabrielle Union. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I did I've done a few things. Someone just mentioned they saw me on Documentary Now with Bill Hader.
Yeah, those are great.
And I did I just did something. Snowfall. I was in the first season of Snowfall at the beginning and the end. I was the ice cream truck driver, and that's on FX. And it's just stuff here and there, and sometimes I'll get a nice streak going, get a few things in a row. Then there's the industry is what it is. It's up and down.
Yeah.
If you're not a big name, it's up and down.
Yeah, and when's usually the time of year when there's like when you would say, is there a time of the year where there's more auditions going on, like open auditions?
Well, usually after the July 4th holiday.
Oh, okay.
Is when television starts. I mean, now it's not quite as set in stone because there's so many platforms and so many different shows being shot for these platforms. So it's not hard and dry that after, July or August is when we start shooting everything. But that's when the bulk of television stuff gets shot.
So on your IMDb, how old are you in that photo? Because you look so young, but it looks like a recent photo.
I shot that photo is probably I had done Ace Ventura let's see, probably 8 years after I did Ace Ventura, so that was about 2003.
Oh, okay.
When I took that picture, so
no, it looks like pretty recent the way the photo looks. So I was like, man, this guy doesn't age. In '83, he's dressing up as Mr. T. And well, Damon, thanks so much for taking the time. This has been great, and I wish you nothing but the best luck.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome, man. Damon was such a good time to chat with. He provided probably the most behind the scenes stories that we've had. And it was really cool to hear his take on it, the way he told that story to other people, and just the improvised scene that he talked about with Jim. And it was pretty funny. So that was him. And don't forget, this Thursday we'll be reviewing Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. So watch it. It's great. You'll enjoy it, and then hear me and Jamie talk about it. And don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast, tell your friends, and also follow us on all social media at Sequels Only, and check out our new website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.